You are not poor because fate chose you. You are not struggling because the world has conspired against you in some secret council. You are where you are because up to this hour you have been thinking, feeling, and acting according to a certain pattern. That pattern has produced the money you now have, the opportunities you now see, and the limits you now feel. If that statement stings, good. Pain is often the first sign that truth has reached a place where lies have been comfortably living. Listen carefully. Wealth is not a mystery. It is the result of a formula, not a formula written in numbers, but a formula written in laws. These laws do not bow to your moods, your excuses, or your stories. They obey only application. And if you will apply them steadily and honestly, they will work wonders for you as surely as night follows day. You have been taught to look at wealth as something that happens to some men and not to others. You see a man prosper, and you say, he was fortunate. He had better conditions. He was in the right place at the right time. Then you look in the mirror and you tell yourself, if only my position were different, I too would have more. That is the first lie this formula must destroy. Wealth is not a wandering visitor that happens to knock on certain doors. It is a result that follows causes. If you do not have the result, it is because you have not yet arranged the causes. You may protest, but I work hard. I rise early. I stay late. I am not lazy. Hard work alone is not the cause of wealth. If it were, the hardest laborers would be the richest men. You have known men who bent their backs from dawn to dusk and died with nothing but worn hands and tired bones. Effort without direction does not create wealth. The right formula demands more than energy. It demands organized energy, guided by a definite purpose, operating under law. Let us begin to lay this formula before you in plain language. First, you must decide exactly what wealth means to you. Not in vague words, but in specific terms. The man who says, I want to be rich, has said nothing useful. Rich compared to whom? Today? Tomorrow? In what form? Why? The mind cannot organize itself around a fog. It can only organize around a clear picture. You must decide in cold detail what financial condition you are aiming at. How much income, from what kind of sources, with what kind of freedom, serving what kind of life. Until you do this, your desire is nothing but a weak wish drifting in your mind. You fear this step because it forces you to admit how far you stand from what you want. You would rather keep your longing undefined so you can avoid the discomfort of measuring it. But a man who refuses to measure cannot improve. When you put numbers, dates, and descriptions to your wealth aim, you give your mind something it can work with. You build a target so that your thoughts, decisions, and habits can begin to align themselves toward it. That is the first element of the formula. A definite financial purpose, clearly stated, that you commit to as a serious man commits to his word. The second element is this. You must tie that purpose to service. Wealth that endures never comes as a reward for wanting money. It comes as payment for delivering value. Money is a certificate of service rendered. When you say you want more money, what you are really saying, if you speak honestly, is that you intend to increase the quantity, quality, or scope of your service to others. If that intention is absent, your desire is only greed, and greed is a poor architect. Ask yourself now, without flattery, in what ways can I legitimately increase the value I deliver to the world? Perhaps by learning a skill more deeply, perhaps by taking on responsibility others avoid, perhaps by improving speed, accuracy, or reliability in what you already do, perhaps by solving a problem that weighs on many and that few are willing to address. Wealth flows toward men who become answer men, problem solvers, value creators, This is not philosophy, it is observation. Look around you and you will see it everywhere. The third element of the formula is belief. Belief not as a mere feeling when you are comfortable, but as a working conviction that your definite purpose can and will be realized if you persist. You have been told to be realistic, and you have confused realism with surrender. Realism simply means you acknowledge facts. It does not mean you kneel to them. When a builder stands before an empty field, he does not say, "It is realistic to expect nothing more than dirt." He sees foundations where others see earth. He sees walls where others see air. Your mind must function the same way. Your present condition may be modest. Your bank account may be thin. Your surroundings may be discouraging. Those are facts. A realistic man notes them. But a man of belief adds another fact. Conditions change when a mind with definite purpose, persistent effort, and organized thought begins to work upon them. When you talk to yourself about your aim, do you speak as if it were possible or as if it were already lost? The formula will not work in the hands of a man who keeps canceling it with his own doubts. The fourth element is the decision to assume full responsibility for where you are and where you are going. As long as you blame circumstances, upbringing, economy, or other people for your financial state, you place the key to your future in their hands. You become a spectator in your own life, complaining about the players while refusing to step into the field. If you wish the formula to work wonders for you, you must say, "Whatever has brought me to this point, from this moment I take command. I accept that my thoughts and actions from here forward will be the primary forces shaping my wealth. This does not mean that external factors vanish. Markets will still rise and fall. Opportunities will still open and close. Men will still behave foolishly or unfairly at times. But a man who has taken responsibility asks one question before all others. Given what is now within my power to think, to learn, to decide, to do?" He does not waste his strength cursing the sky. He uses his strength to adjust his sails. Responsibility is not a burden, it is the throne from which you govern your own life. The fifth element of the formula is the habit of saving and directing a portion of everything you earn. You may say, "I do not earn enough to save." The truth is that you do not save, and therefore you do not earn enough. If you handle little money loosely, more will only magnify your carelessness. Wealth is not built solely by large incomes. It is built by the consistent capture and wise use of a portion of any income. The man who forms the habit of setting aside even a modest percentage proves to life that he can be trusted as a steward. The man who spends to the limit of his earnings, regardless of how high they rise, proves the opposite. Set a fixed percentage, however small, that you will pay to your own future before you pay anyone else. Do it without argument, as a law. If your present income is tiny, the habit will still be mighty. You are training your subconscious mind to recognize yourself as a builder of capital rather than a mere passer of coins. You will begin to think differently when you know that every unit you earn has two possible destinies: to vanish in immediate consumption or to serve as a seed for greater means. The sixth element is controlled imagination. Wealth in the outer world begins as wealth in the inner world. You have used imagination against yourself, picturing failure, humiliation, and loss until your nerve has weakened. The formula requires you to reverse this. Each day, in moments of quiet, you must picture yourself living from the level of wealth you intend to reach, not as a daydream for pleasure, but as a rehearsal for reality. See yourself handling larger sums with calm control. See yourself making wise decisions instead of impulsive ones. See yourself maintaining integrity while your means expand. This disciplined imagining, repeated over time, impresses your deeper mind. It begins to adjust your sense of what is normal for you. Men live down to their sense of normal or rise up to it. If your inner picture is of a man forever on the edge, forever at the mercy of bills, forever one disaster away from ruin, your choices will unconsciously support that picture. If your inner picture is of a man who has built solid reserves, who serves at a high level, who is paid accordingly, you will begin to act in ways that make that picture possible. The formula does not work for those who refuse to govern their own imagination. The seventh element is organized action. A purpose, however definite, is only a map. Belief, however strong, is only fuel. Habits of saving and images of success are only tools. They must be put to use through deliberate steps taken day after day. You must break your wealth aim into clear tasks, skills to acquire, relationships to build, services to improve, ventures to design, expenses to cut, streams of income to develop. Then you must place those tasks into time, this week, this month, this year, and attend to them as faithfully as a farmer tends his fields. You have perhaps lived by reaction, doing what is urgent, what is loud, what is easiest, and telling yourself that you are busy. Busyness is not the same as advancement. Organized action means you choose your most important moves in the calm of planning and then carry them out whether you feel like it or not. This separates the man who merely wishes from the man who quietly, steadily changes his financial destiny. The formula refuses to serve the easily distracted. The eighth element is persistence. You will be tested. Every serious aim is tested. The day will come when your efforts seem to produce little, when your plans falter, when the people you counted on disappoint you, when the sum in your hands looks so small compared to the sum in your mind that you feel foolish. Many men quit at this stage and then say, "It was not meant to be." That is ignorance disguised as wisdom. What they call not meant to be was simply not persisted in long enough. You must make a different choice. When results are slow, you will examine your methods, correct your errors, and continue. You will adjust your plan, but not abandon your purpose. You will remember that a seed does not break the soil the same day it is planted. Quietly beneath the surface, roots are forming. Your invisible work, your changed thinking, your new disciplines, your better service is forming roots. Wealth, when it appears, will not be an accident. It will be the fruit of that unseen season. All of these elements, definite purpose, service, belief, responsibility, saving, controlled imagination, organized action, and persistence, together form the wealth formula. None of them alone is enough. Desire without action is fantasy. Action without direction is waste. Saving without growth is stagnation. Imagination without discipline is escape. But when you bring them together and bind them with your own decision, you create a pattern of cause that wealth, in some form and degree, must eventually answer to. You may feel, as you hear this, a pull between hope and doubt. Part of you whispers, "Could it truly be this simple?" Another part answers, "If it were, would not everyone be rich?" Understand this. The formula is simple, but it is not easy, because it asks something most men refuse to give: consistent, thoughtful application over time. They want sudden gain without interchange. They want to bring their old habits into a new life. They want to skip the unseen work and collect only the visible rewards. That is why they remain where they are. You now stand at a different threshold. You have heard a formula that will work wonders if you apply it. Not if you applaud it. Not if you quote it. If you apply it, The distance between your current condition and the wealth you desire is measured not in miles nor in years, but in the number of days you will actually think and act according to these laws instead of your old ones. Each day you live by them, you shorten the distance. Each day you ignore them, you lengthen it. The decision is plain. Continue to treat wealth as a matter of chance, or begin treating it as a matter of law. Continue to envy, complain, and excuse, or begin to define, serve, believe, assume responsibility, save, imagine, organize, and persist. One path preserves your comfort and your present condition. The other path disturbs your comfort and transforms your condition. Only one of them leads to the life you say you want. You now know the outline of the wealth formula. But knowing a formula is not the same as living by it. Many men learn principles and then continue as if nothing has changed. They take notes in their minds and then obey their habits. That is why their lives repeat themselves like a worn-out song. If you want this formula to work wonders, you must carry it out of theory into discipline. It must enter your mornings, your workbench, your ledger, your conversations, your private thoughts. It must become the pattern by which you judge yourself each day. Begin with your definite financial purpose. Take it out of the clouds and nail it to paper. Sit alone at a table with pen and blank page. Write in exact figures how much you intend to accumulate, how much you intend to earn, and by what approximate date. Then write in what manner you intend to earn it, what kind of work, what kind of service, what kind of value. Do not rush this. This is the cornerstone. A vague aim produces vague effort and vague results. A clear aim produces clear tension in the mind, a healthy discontent that drives you to organize yourself. When you have written it, read it aloud until the words stop feeling like someone else's and begin to feel like a binding promise. At first, your own voice may sound foolish to you. You will hear your current circumstances whispering, "Who are you to speak of these sums?" That is precisely why you must speak them. You are not describing what already is. You are declaring what you have decided will be if you live according to law. The timid man never does this. He hides his desires behind irony and cynicism. He calls it humility. In truth, it is fear. Wealth does not answer to fear. Now look at the second element, service. You must answer this blunt question. Exactly what am I offering in exchange for the wealth I seek? Do not say, "I will work hard." That is not an offer. That is a description of effort. Ask instead, what problems will I solve? What burdens will I lift? What improvements will I create? If your present work seems small, examine it more closely. There is always some way to increase its value. You can become faster without losing accuracy. You can become more reliable than those around you. You can see and fix small faults others ignore. You can learn one extra skill that makes you more useful than the average man in your position. Make a list of ways you can improve your service in your present role. Write them plainly. For example, arrive prepared and organized so that no one waits on me. Anticipate the needs of those I serve instead of waiting to be asked. Learn the full process, not just my part, so I can see where waste occurs. Deliver before the agreed time. Keep records so clear that anyone can follow them. These are not glamorous tasks, but wealth is rarely built on glamorous tasks. It is built on consistent, thoughtful service that others can depend on. A man who becomes known for this cannot remain low for long. Turn next to belief. Do not wait for belief to descend on you like a soft fog. It must be built and trained. The mind believes what it hears repeatedly from an authority it trusts. You have for years been that authority speaking doubt into your own mind. You have told yourself, People like me never get ahead. Nothing ever really changes. If something can go wrong, it will. You have repeated these phrases until they feel like truth. They are not truth. They are suggestions you accepted. Now, you must replace them. Each morning and each night, read your definite financial purpose aloud with conviction. Then add words that affirm your ability to move toward it. I will reach this aim by increasing my service, improving my skill, and disciplining my mind. Each day I am becoming more capable, more organized, and more valuable. Obstacles are training, not signals to quit. Say these not as empty noise, but as directions to your subconscious. You are programming a deeper part of yourself that does not argue with what it hears often. You will feel resistance at first. Persist anyway. It is harder to uproot weeds than to grow flowers, but both are possible. Now confront responsibility. From this point, make a rule. You will not speak of your financial condition as if you were a victim. You will not blame your parents, your employer, your town, the government, or the times. You may describe conditions, but you will not excuse yourself with them. Instead, anytime you catch yourself saying, "I cannot because," you will add, "However, I can still do this," and then name an action within your reach. In this way, you train your mind to stop at the door of complaint and turn instead toward control. This will change your posture toward problems. When an expense rises unexpectedly, you will not spend days cursing it. You will ask, "What can I adjust? Where can I earn more? What new skill can I begin learning now?" When an opportunity slips away, you will not lie awake imagining its perfection. You will say, "What weakness in me allowed this to pass unused? What must I improve so that the next opportunity finds me ready?" This is the behavior of a man who has taken the helm of his own ship. Storms will still blow, but he is no longer a passenger thrown about by them. We come now to saving and directing your money. You must choose a fixed percentage of every sum you receive, whether wage, profit, or unexpected gain, and declare it untouchable except for the purpose of building wealth. Even if the percentage is modest, make it a law. If 10% feels impossible to you at this moment, choose 5 or even 3. The exact figure matters less than the seriousness with which you guard it. Do not tell yourself, "I will save when my earnings are higher." That is the oath of men who never save. To train this habit, start with the next sum that comes into your hands, however small. Before you pay anyone else, pay your future self. Place that portion where you cannot spend it on impulse. You will feel the pull of your old nature shouting that you need that money now. Ignore it. You are teaching yourself a new identity. I am a man who always sets aside something for growth. The first weeks may be uncomfortable, but soon you will begin to take pride in watching that account grow. Each coin in it is proof that you no longer devour everything you earn like a starving animal. You are becoming a builder. Do not leave that growing fund sleeping. As it increases, you must begin to study ways to put it to work safely and wisely. This requires patience. Do not throw it into schemes that promise sudden multiplication without effort. Those traps exist for men who want rewards without understanding. Instead, learn the principles of your chosen field, whether trade, enterprise, or investment, until you can see where risk is reasonable and where it is madness. Your capital is the soldier of your future. Do not send it into battle without training or plan. Controlled imagination now becomes essential. Each day, set aside a few quiet minutes to picture yourself living from the financial condition you intend to achieve. Do not imagine idle luxury. Imagine responsibility. See yourself managing your affairs with order. See yourself deciding, "This part I spend, This part I reinvest. This part I reserve. See yourself declining foolish expenses without feeling deprived. See yourself making agreements and keeping them. See yourself saying no to offers that violate your principles even when they tempt your greed. In these mental scenes, place yourself not as a dreamer, but as a steady, mature builder. Feel the calm that comes from knowing your obligations are met, that you have reserves, that your work is valued. As you repeat this, your nervous craving for quick relief will begin to fade. You will be less drawn to momentary pleasures that destroy long-term growth. You are rehearsing the mind of a wealthy man before the money arrives. When some of it does arrive, you will not be shocked into foolishness. You will recognize the role. Now you must translate all this into organized action. Take a fresh sheet of paper. At the top, write your clear financial aim. Beneath it, divide the page into 3 columns: skills and knowledge, service improvements, and income paths. In the first column, list the abilities and understanding you must gain or deepen to become worth the income you seek. It may be mastery of a trade, knowledge of markets, the art of leadership, the discipline of record keeping. In the second column, list concrete ways you can improve the value you give in your current position or in the line of work you are pursuing. In the third, list possible ways to create or expand streams of income, advancing within your field, starting a side enterprise, increasing efficiency, negotiating better terms, forming partnerships. Once you have filled these columns, do not stare at them as if they were decorations. Turn them into plans. Take each item and decide, what is the first step? When will I take it? How often will I repeat it? For example, if a needed skill is better understanding of figures, your first step might be, each evening spend 30 minutes learning and practicing basic calculations and reading simple financial statements. If a service improvement is fewer errors in my work, your step might be, double-check every important task before delivering it, no matter the hurry. Place these actions into a weekly plan and keep that plan where you see it daily. This is not about filling every moment. It is about securing decisive movements. Even 1 or 2 well-chosen actions, repeated consistently, will alter the direction of your financial life more than a dozen vague intentions. The formula works through deliberate repetition, not through occasional bursts of enthusiasm. And then we come again to persistence. You must expect that there will be days when progress is invisible, when your savings seem ridiculous compared to your ambitions, when your new disciplines feel heavy and your old habits call you back like a familiar song. These are the days when most men quietly surrender. They do not make an announcement. They simply begin to skip their practices just for today, then just for this week, until the formula is nothing but a memory. You must treat such days as the true battlefield. When you feel least inclined to act according to your wealth formula, that is when action is most necessary. If you plan to study, study even for a shorter period rather than not at all. If you plan to save, save even a smaller amount rather than abandoning the habit. If you plan to approach a potential opportunity, make at least one small move in that direction. By doing this, you send a powerful message to your own mind. My decisions, not my moods, run my life. That message is worth more than the particular action itself. You will discover, as persistence takes root, that your attitude toward time changes. You stop demanding immediate transformation and start respecting the compounding power of small daily improvements. A coin added regularly to your savings grows into a sum you once thought impossible. A skill refined each day becomes a weapon you never had before. A reputation for reliability, built patiently, becomes a magnet for opportunity. Suddenly, what once seemed unfair good fortune in others looks very much like the long harvest of seeds you did not see them sow. Do not neglect your environment as you apply this formula. Surrounding yourself with constant voices of complaint, defeat, and cynicism will wear down your belief. You cannot always choose your physical environment, but you can choose what you allow into your mind. Fill it with writings, examples, and conversations that strengthen your conviction that growth is possible and that law, not luck, governs success. When you hear others speak as if everything were determined by outside forces, silently reject that view. You are walking another road. Your manner must change as well. A man who begins to live by this formula cannot carry himself like a defeated soul begging crumbs from life. He must stand, sit, and walk with a certain inner dignity. This is not arrogance. It is the posture of one who knows he has taken his destiny into his own hands. When you move, move with decision. When you speak about your work, speak with seriousness and pride. When you face difficulties, face them with a steady gaze, not with the eyes of a man who expects always to be beaten. Some will misunderstand this change in you. They may say you have become too serious or too ambitious. Let them talk. Their words are the songs of men who have chosen comfort over growth. Do not argue with them. Simply continue to apply the formula quietly, steadily. Over time, they will either drift away or they will ask you with genuine curiosity how you transformed your life. Then, if you choose, you may tell them that wealth is not a trick, but a disciplined arrangement of mind, service, and action. Beware of pride as results begin to show. When more money starts to flow, when opportunities increase, when others notice your progress, your old self may rise up with new temptations. It may whisper, now you can relax. Now you can indulge every impulse. Now you are above the law. That is the beginning of decline. The same formula that built your wealth must maintain it. Continue to define your aims, to tie them to service, to control your thoughts, to save, to act with order, to persist. Wealth without the character that built it is a house without foundations. The first storm will expose it. Finally, remember that this formula does more than increase your money. It changes you into the kind of man who can be trusted with influence. As you practice responsibility, your word becomes heavier. As you practice savings and wise use, your judgment grows sharper. As you practice service, your heart becomes larger. As you practice belief and imagination, your spirit becomes more resilient. These are riches that no market can destroy. So from this day, measure yourself not by what you wish for, complain about, or talk about, but by how faithfully you apply the elements of this formula. At the close of each day, ask yourself, did I think according to my definite purpose? Did I increase my usefulness in some way? Did I guard a portion of my earnings for my future? Did I discipline my imagination and my words? Did I take at least one organized step toward my aim? Did I persist when I did not feel like it? If you can honestly answer yes, even imperfectly, you have had a wealthy day, no matter what coins pass through your hands. Those days, stacked one on another, will do what you once thought only luck could do. They will work wonders in your life. You have begun to see that this wealth formula is not a trick, but a way of living. Now you must face the part that most men run from, the cost. Every law has a price attached, and this one is no exception. Many admire the idea of definite purpose, disciplined saving, controlled imagination, and persistent service. They nod their heads when they hear these words. But when the time comes to give up a familiar comfort, an old habit, an easy pleasure, they suddenly discover reasons why this formula cannot be followed in full. They want the harvest without changing the seed. That is impossible. You must decide that you would rather be slightly uncomfortable now than permanently limited later. For years, you have paid a silent tax. The tax of scattered effort, of lazy thinking, of undisciplined spending, of weak decisions. You paid that tax in the currency of missed chances, constant worry, and the humiliation of never quite being ahead. You did not call it a tax, but that is what it was. The formula asked you to stop paying that silent tax and to pay a new price instead. The price of order, restraint, and consistent effort. One price buys poverty of spirit and purse. The other buys strength and abundance. Look closely at the enemies inside you that resist this new price. The first is laziness. Not the laziness of lying in bed all day, but the laziness of mind that refuses to think deeply. It is easier to repeat old complaints than to examine your own habits. It is easier to envy than to analyze. It is easier to call a man lucky than to study the pattern of his discipline. This mental laziness is more dangerous than physical weariness. A tired body can rest and recover. A lazy mind remains poor in every environment. You must force yourself to think as a builder thinks. When you hear of a man who prospered, do not dismiss him. Ask instead, what did he do differently? What did he know that I do not yet know? How did he handle money? How did he handle himself? If you cannot learn directly from him, learn indirectly by studying men of similar result. You will begin to notice the same themes: clarity of aim, loyalty to service, courage under risk, discipline under success. If you notice also where they failed in character, learn from that too. Let other people's mistakes spare you from repeating them. Another enemy is envy. You have at times looked at those who have more and felt a burning inside you, not as inspiration, but as resentment. You told yourself, it is unfair that he has so much while I have so little. That feeling is poison. It blinds you to the law. Wealth, when legitimately built, is a sign that someone, somewhere, organized his mind and conduct according to principles you have neglected. Instead of resenting him, study the laws he obeyed. If his wealth was built by corruption and deceit, do not envy that either. It is a structure already cracking. You have seen such men appear strong and then collapse. Do not exchange your peace of conscience for their temporary glitter. Impatience is another enemy. You have lived in a time of quick impressions and sudden excitements. You want results in the same way you want a light, instant. But wealth built in a flash usually disappears in a flash. You say, I have been saving for 2 months. I have been studying my craft for 1 year. I have been more disciplined for a little while. Why has nothing grand happened? Because you are trying to harvest in the season of planting. A field does not bear fruit because the farmer stared at it angrily. It bears fruit because he continues to work during the silent months when nothing seems to be happening. You must learn to take pleasure in the absence of visible reward. When you save a small amount, smile, not because it is large, but because you are building a habit that will one day handle large amounts. When you turn down an unnecessary purchase, smile, for you have just strengthened the muscle of restraint. When you study a subject after a long day, smile, because you are widening a channel through which future opportunity can flow. No one applauds you in these moments, and that is exactly why they are powerful. You are separating yourself from the masses, quietly, inches at a time. Fear also rises up. You fear that if you devote yourself to a definite plan and it fails, you will feel exposed. So you protect yourself by remaining vague. You think, if I never state clearly what I'm aiming at, I can never be judged by it. Understand this. You are already being judged, not by your words, but by your results. Hiding from clarity does not protect you. It only condemns you to drift. Better to choose a definite aim and learn from its shortfalls than to float aimlessly and learn nothing at all. The formula does not promise that you will never make a wrong move. It promises that if you use your mind, you will correct and grow with each move. Now consider the temptation of easy gain. As you begin to change, you will sometimes be offered shortcuts. A man will bring a scheme that promises great returns with little effort, no clear service, and no understanding required. He will flatter you by saying, "This is how the clever get ahead. Why should you work so hard?" If you fall for such offers, you reveal that you did not understand the formula at all. Wealth that bypasses growth of character punishes a man, even if his purse swells for a time. You have seen examples. Men who stumbled into money and wasted it on vanities. Men who could not bear the responsibility. Men who lost their sense of proportion and fell into disgrace. They gained coins and lost their souls. That is not wonder, that is tragedy. Real wealth does not ask you to become someone else overnight. It asks you to become a truer version of yourself over time. As you think and act according to law, you will discover strengths you did not suspect and weaknesses you can no longer ignore. Your aim is not just to have more. Your aim is to become the sort of man who can use more without being destroyed by it. That requires honesty. Look at yourself as you would look at an enterprise you were asked to manage. Where are the leaks? Where are the wasteful habits? Where are the blind spots? Where are the ruts? Then treat yourself with the same frankness and firmness you would use if someone had trusted you with their business. You must also learn the role of associations in this formula. No man builds significant wealth entirely alone. He may begin alone, but as he grows, he will stand at crossroads where the right companions accelerate his progress and the wrong ones drag him back. You cannot afford to keep close company with those who mock discipline, who treat principles as jokes, who despise honest gain and admire crooked cleverness. Their attitude will seep into you, even if you protest. Seek instead to align yourself with those who respect effort, who talk more about ideas than about gossip, who take pride in producing more than they consume. They may not be rich yet, but if they live by law, they are moving in that direction. Share your aims with a small number of such people. Listen to their counsel. Offer them your own. Together, you can form a mental alliance that multiplies all of your understanding. But guard this circle. Do not invite in those who love complaint more than improvement. They will inject poison into the well. As you apply the formula and refine your circle, your reputation becomes a powerful asset. Wealth does not follow only numbers on a page. It follows names that are trusted. Ask yourself, what do people quietly say after I leave a room? Do they think of me as dependable or as one who must be watched? Do they associate my name with thoroughness and fairness or with shortcuts and unfinished tasks? You may not know the exact words, but you can feel the truth if you listen to your conscience. Make it your silent goal to attach qualities to your name that support the wealth you seek. If you want others to invest in you, be the man who always keeps his word, even when it costs. If you want others to recommend you, be the man who finishes what he starts at a high standard. If you want others to pay you well, be the man who solves problems without needing to be pushed. These traits are not born in public. They are born in the small, private choices you make when no one is watching. Your wealth account in the outer world will rarely surpass your character account in the inner world. As this inner and outer work continues, something subtle will occur. Your sense of identity will shift. You will stop thinking of yourself as a man trying to get ahead and start thinking of yourself as a man who operates by law. That is a profound change. When a decision arises, whether to waste money, whether to slacken effort, whether to avoid a difficult step, you will not weigh it only against your feelings. You will weigh it against the formula. You will ask, does this strengthen my definite purpose? Does this increase my value? Does this respect responsibility? Does this support my saving, my imagination, my organized action, my persistence? If the answer is no, you will find it easier to decline. Not because you suddenly like self-denial, but because you have chosen a higher loyalty. You will also begin to notice opportunities that were invisible to you before. Your mind, once filled with complaints and vague hopes, becomes sharper in observation. You see inefficiencies in the work around you that you can improve. You notice unmet needs that you might serve. You hear in everyday conversations hints of problems others face that you are beginning to be equipped to address. This is no magic. It is simply the result of turning your thoughts outward, toward service and inward, toward preparation, instead of letting them drift in circles. Do not be surprised if in this stage you encounter resistance from your old self more fiercely than before. When a tree is young, you can bend it easily. When it is older, it resists being straightened. Your old patterns will fight like that tree. They will tempt you to take a break from discipline, to reward yourself for small progress by abandoning the very habits that produced it. Recognize this for what it is, the last defense of a nature that has kept you limited. Smile at it. You are not at war with yourself to destroy yourself. You are at war with the part of you that has kept you small. There's another subtle danger, using the formula against your own peace. A man can become so fixed on his financial aim that he forgets why he sought wealth in the first place. He begins to measure his entire worth by figures. He neglects his health, his relationships, his inner life, all under the banner of getting ahead. This, too, is a form of poverty. The formula is meant to free you from the constant anxiety of lack, not to replace it with constant anxiety of more. As you grow, remember that wealth is a tool, not a master. It is meant to support a life of purpose, service, and dignity, not to devour it. Therefore, include in your definite purpose not only sums, but the kind of man you wish to be while attaining and using them. Decide that you will not knowingly take money that requires you to betray your conscience. Decide that you will not sacrifice your integrity for a deal. Decide that you will not worship wealth, but will use it. When you hold these decisions firmly, you become one of the rare men who can be trusted with greater resources. Life does not hand power to those who are owned by it. It hands power to those who have learned to govern it. Take a moment to look back over what you have already changed since first hearing this formula. Perhaps you have written, for the first time, a clear financial aim. Perhaps you have started saving some small part of your income. Perhaps you have begun to watch your thoughts, to cut off words of defeat, to plan your days instead of drifting through them. These may feel like small adjustments, but they are the opening moves of an entirely different game. Respect them. Build on them. Do not say, it is not enough. Say instead, it is a beginning, and I will add to it. Each new day arrives as a fresh sheet. What you write on it is your decision. You can copy yesterday's scattered lines, or you can continue the new script of purpose and discipline you have started. The formula will not grow tired. It stands ready each morning, waiting for you to apply it once more. You have spent much of your life believing that wealth was a distant possibility reserved for others. The truth is more direct. Wealth, in whatever measure aligns with your purpose and service, is the natural outcome of living under these laws. You are not asking life for a favor when you apply them. You are simply aligning yourself with how things work. Stop thinking like a beggar at the gate of fortune. Think like a builder standing at the foot of a site. The ground does not care who you are. If you lay stone upon stone according to sound principles, a structure will rise. If you never lay the stones, it will not. Let other men write letters to chance, hoping it will remember them. You will write instructions to yourself and obey them. Let other men argue about whether the world is fair. You will live in such a way that, fair or not, you emerge stronger, more useful, and more prosperous than you were. Let other men wait to feel ready. You will begin where you stand, with what you have, guided by a formula that does not depend on your moods. The wonder in this wealth formula is not that it can change your bank account. The real wonder is that it can change your sense of what is possible, your understanding of cause and effect, your relationship with yourself. A man who has seen himself take hold of his own life in this way is never again fully at the mercy of circumstances. He may face setbacks, losses, even ruin. But he will know deep inside that the same laws that built his first fortune can build another. That knowledge is a fortress no misfortune can completely break. So continue to walk this path. Continue to think in terms of law rather than luck, service rather than greed, growth rather than excuses. Continue to look at each decision, each coin, each hour as part of a larger pattern you are weaving. You are not merely passing through your days. You are shaping a destiny with them. And when the visible signs of wealth begin to appear, a larger reserve, a better position, a growing enterprise, you will recognize them not as miracles, but as the natural response of the world to a man who finally learned and applied a formula that was waiting for him all along. You have spent years thinking that the secret of wealth was hidden outside you, inside distant markets, behind locked doors, in the hands of other men. Now you see that the real turning point was always inside your own mind and conduct. You were waiting for a sign from the world when the world was waiting for a decision from you. You have drawn the outline of that decision. You have chosen a definite purpose, tied it to service, accepted responsibility, begun to save, disciplined your imagination, organized your actions, and persisted beyond your moods. Now you must carry this formula beyond the stage of change and into the stage of permanence. Wealth that appears for a season and disappears leaves a bitter taste. Wealth that is built, kept, and used wisely becomes a blessing. Understand this clearly. Money is not the final prize of this formula. It is an instrument. If you make money your master, you will become its servant. If you make money your servant, you will become its master. The difference lies in how you think and what you do after the money begins to come. Many men who were poor in coins became poor in character as soon as their purse grew heavy. They forgot every discipline they used to rise. They threw away restraint, abandoned service, and treated themselves as idols to be worshipped. Their downfall was not an accident. It was the final result of worshiping the instrument instead of the law behind it. You must decide before your means grow large what you believe about money. Say it plainly to yourself. Money is a tool. It will magnify what is already in me. If I am careless, it will enlarge my carelessness. If I am greedy, it will enlarge my greed. If I am disciplined, it will enlarge my discipline. If I am generous, it will enlarge my generosity. You are not simply building a fortune, you are building the man who will handle that fortune. The wealth formula, applied honestly, should make you more self-respecting, more useful, more balanced, not merely more comfortable. Begin with yourself. As your income increases and your reserves grow, resist the urge to erect a false image. Some men, at their first taste of success, change their appearance, their tone, their talk, not from inner growth, but to impress those who once ignored them. They buy things they cannot afford to pay for in peace. They stretch themselves to appear larger than they are. This is vanity parading as progress. The formula you are following does not ask you to dress your ego. It asks you to dress your life in order. Ask, does this purchase strengthen or weaken my position? Does this expense increase my usefulness or only my noise? Will this decision look wise not only today, but in 10 years? If the answer is weak, step back. You have nothing to prove. Real wealth is not measured by how loudly you announce it, but by how quietly you sustain it. When you no longer need to display your means, you are beginning to master them. Turn your attention to security. One purpose of wealth is to remove the constant fear of disaster. When you have reserves, emergencies that would have crushed you in the past become inconveniences instead of catastrophes. But security is not only a matter of figures, it is also a matter of structure. Build your life so that it does not collapse if one pillar fails. Do not let all your income depend on a single frail source if you can help it. Develop backup skills, additional streams of earning, relationships built on mutual value rather than desperation. The formula invites you to think like an architect. What happens to this structure if the wind changes direction? Yet do not confuse security with paralysis. Some men become so fearful of losing what they have gained that they imprison themselves. They hide every coin, refuse every opportunity, suspect every venture. They call this prudence, but often it is cowardice. The same mind that guided you into wise risk to build your means must guide you into wise risk to grow them. The formula does not end with hoarding. It ends with stewardship, using wealth to build, to improve, to create, to support. Look now at the role of your household. Wealth built at the expense of those closest to you is a crooked ladder. You may climb it, but you will not like the view from the top. The formula calls you to order at home as well as in business. Be honest with those who depend on you. Do not promise them what your income cannot sustain. Do not spoil them with luxuries that teach them nothing of effort and responsibility. Instead, let your example teach them. Let them see that you work with purpose, save with discipline, give with thought, and spend with reason. Bring them, in time and in suitable measure, into the understanding of the formula. Teach them that money does not appear by magic, that every coin is bought with thought and labor, that every unwise expense is a small theft from the future. If they grow up seeing you complain about your work, resent your obligations, and chase blind comfort, they will inherit your frustration. If they grow up seeing you respect your duties, plan your affairs, and use your means to serve something greater than yourself, they will inherit your strength. This, too, is a form of wealth, a tradition of sound thinking. Consider the wider circle of your influence. As you prosper, others will watch you closely. Some will hope you fail. Others will hope you succeed. All will form their opinions of wealth, in part, by what they see in you. If you become arrogant, they will say, "See what money does to a man." If you remain humble yet firm, they will say, "There is a way to prosper without losing your soul." You do not live in isolation. Your application of this formula becomes either a testimony or a warning. Let it be a testimony. Be firm in your standards, but fair in your dealings. Pay what you owe on time. Honor agreements. Share credit where it is due. Do not cheat the weak because you can. Do not flatter the powerful because you want more. Such behavior may look slow compared to the schemes of opportunists, but in the long run it builds a name that opens doors more valuable than any trick. A crooked gain is a debt disguised as a profit. It will demand repayment with interest in your peace, your reputation, or your future. Now examine your attitude toward giving. If money is only ever pulled toward you, it will choke you. Let some of it flow outward in ways that align with your values. This is not about boasting or buying admiration. It is about recognizing that you are a channel, not a dam. Decide in advance what portion of your income you will dedicate to causes, individuals, or institutions that you believe in. This keeps your heart from shrinking as your accounts grow. It reminds you that wealth, at its best, lifts more than one life. But be wise in giving as in earning. Do not support laziness. Do not feed waste. Help where your help produces strength, not dependency. Sometimes the greatest gift is not money, but guidance, opportunity, instruction. Sometimes it is a firm refusal that forces another to discover his own power. The formula that built your wealth, clarity, service, responsibility, discipline, can be shared with others in many forms. Your life can say it is possible more loudly than any donation. Now consider your relationship to time. In your earlier years, you traded time for small comforts and fleeting distractions. You treated hours as cheap, days as replaceable, seasons as endless. Now you see that time is the raw material from which all wealth is shaped. A wasted hour is not just an empty space, it is a brick you refuse to lay in the structure of your future. As you live by this formula, you will begin to feel a new respect for your own hours. This is not obsession, it is awareness. You will still rest, but you will rest with intention, knowing that rest renews your ability to create. You will still enjoy simple pleasures, but you will not let them devour the time needed for your purpose. You will say no more often, not because you despise others, but because you will no longer donate your life to trivialities. When you give your time, you will give it fully, just as you give your work and your service. Half-hearted presence is an insult to everyone involved. As your thinking becomes sharper, your decisions will become clearer. You will stop asking, "Can I get away with this?" and start asking, "Does this move me toward or away from my definite purpose?" These questions will guide your choices in business, in private life, in friendships, in habits. Each yes and each no will carry more weight. You will stop living by accident and start living by design. That is the heart of this formula. Deliberate living in harmony with the laws that govern success. You may ask, will I ever arrive then? Will there be a day when I can cease all this effort? There will be a day when the habits you are now forcing yourself to build will feel natural. There will be a day when saving, planning, serving, and thinking in terms of cause and effect are your instinct rather than your struggle. But there will never be a day, so long as you live, when you can abandon law and expect to keep its rewards. Gravity does not suspend itself because you climbed one mountain. It continues. And you must continue to respect it. So it is with this wealth formula. The wonder is not in reaching a point where you can be careless. The wonder is in becoming the kind of man for whom discipline is as natural as breathing. When you reach that point, you will not think of yourself as working the formula. You will simply be yourself. And that self will be a man whose thoughts, feelings, and actions produce abundance as naturally as a healthy tree produces fruit. Look ahead and picture the man you are becoming if you remain faithful to this path. See him rising in the morning with purpose, not dread. See him attending to his affairs with order, not chaos. See him holding reserves instead of counting the days to his next payment. See him walking into negotiations with calm, not desperation. See him paying his obligations with dignity, not with trembling hands. See him helping others from strength, not from show. Now picture the alternative. The man who hears these principles nods and returns to his old ways. See him continue to spend everything he earns on impressions, not foundations. See him continue to complain about conditions while refusing to govern his own thoughts. See him continue to gamble with his time, his money, his reputation. See him 10 or 20 years from now, still telling stories about what might have been, still looking for someone or something to blame. That path is as real as the one you are now on. The difference lies in what you do after you close this page and rise from your chair. You may think, but I have wasted so much already. I have made so many mistakes. I have delayed too long. That thought is another thief. It tries to steal the only thing still in your hands, the present. Stop counting the years behind you as if they were proof that you cannot change. Count them as tuition. You have already paid for your understanding with frustration, with worry, with disappointment. Do not waste that costly education by refusing to act on it now. Say plainly to yourself, whatever I did before, I choose differently now. I choose to think in terms of law, not luck. I choose to define my aim, serve at a higher level, assume responsibility, save a portion of everything, govern my imagination, organize my actions, and persist without obedience to mood. I choose to treat money as a tool, not as a master. I choose to become a man worthy of trust. Trust from others, trust from life, and trust from myself. Write these choices. Speak them. Revisit them when you falter. No one else needs to see them, but you must not forget them. They are the frame through which you will pass every choice related to wealth. When an option appears attractive but violates one of these decisions, decline it. When a path appears difficult but honors these decisions, consider it carefully. You are not merely chasing comfort, you are building greatness. Remember also that the formula you are applying to money can be applied to other forms of wealth. Health, relationships, knowledge, peace of mind, all obey similar laws. A definite purpose, disciplined action, clear thinking, and persistence will enrich these areas as surely as they enrich your finances. As you become more orderly in one area, the same spirit will seep into the others. You will find that success is not many separate things, but one way of being expressed through many channels. In time, if you walk this path long enough, you will become living proof that a man is not chained to the condition into which he was born, nor to the mistakes he has made, nor to the limits others spoke over him. You will stand as an answer to the doubts that once ruled you. Others will look at you and say, he must have been lucky. You will know better. You will know that what they call luck was law applied, day after day, when no one saw and no one clapped. You will not need their praise. Your satisfaction will come from a deeper place, the knowledge that you did not betray your own potential, that you did not remain a bystander in your own life, that you learned the formula and had the courage to live it. Your wealth will not only be measured in accounts, but in the man you have become, steadier, clearer, more generous, more powerful, and more at peace. Let this be your final resolve. You will not treat this formula as an interesting idea to remember. You will treat it as a working law to obey. You will not wait for perfect conditions. You will start where you stand. You will not pretend to be a victim. You will accept the role of builder. You will not hope for wonders while living in contradiction to the laws that produce them. You will align your thoughts, your words, your habits, and your choices with the principles you now understand. Do this, and the day will come when you look back on your present life with gratitude, not shame. You will say, those were the days when I stopped begging fate and began obeying law. Those were the days when I stopped asking, why not me, and began saying, here is what I will do. Those were the days when I stopped chasing wealth as if it were a stranger and started becoming the kind of man to whom wealth comes naturally. From that day forward, you will need no one to convince you that a wealth formula exists. You will carry its proof in your own life, and you will know with quiet certainty that it worked wonders for you, not because you admired it, but because you applied it.